Hello and welcome to the latest edition of What Does the Giraffe Say with me, Kathleen Retourne. We're an organisation that aims to reconnect people in conservation by holding live interviews. Today I am joined by Daniel, and he is the founder from Fuze Ecoteers. So Daniel, if I could just hand over to you, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what prompted you to start the organisation.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kathleen, for organising this. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Daniel. I've been living in Malaysia now for 15 years. I basically left university after doing an environmental science degree, and then I basically wanted to try and get into ecotourism. So what I did is I wrote away to lots of ecologists, tried to find like an internship, and luckily there was a organisation in Borneo that asked me to come along. And it happened to be that they were leading a conference called the Borneo Ecotourism Conference. So they actually, my first day in the office for this company and internship was actually to become the secretary for this conference. And the guy, Albert Teal, told me, okay, actually I'm going away for like 2 months right before the conference starts. I was literally put into the deep end, and I think we swam. It was quite good. We had it lasted for like 4 years, the repeated event. So that was great, an amazing time. I then, after I lived in the city for a little while doing the conference, I then moved over to the forest in Sukau. So if you know Sabah and Borneo well, Sukau is like the main place where you can see orangutans and pygmy elephants and all sorts of things like that. So I lived there for 6 months, basically being a tour guide on a boat up and down the river, showing guests orangutans and elephants and proboscis monkeys. That's monkeys with a big nose. It was such an amazing time over there. And from there, I actually had the inspiration one day. I was cleaning this boardwalk in the rainforest. So in the rainforest, every day is like autumn because leaves fall down every day. So we had to clean the boardwalk every day. So I cleaned it up at like 5 a.m. before the guests would get up and go on the boardwalk. And I heard these gibbons, and you hear gibbons quite often, but it's very rare to see them. And there's one time when they sort of I could hear them getting closer and closer and closer. Wow, okay, this is good. I'll try and find them. And I actually saw them, and then they swooped down, and it actually came to the floor, which is even more rare. He came to the boardwalk and then just sort of saw me and then swung away again. So it was such an amazing moment. I was like, wow, guys, I need to really help more people to get internships and to be getting into the industry. So that is kind of the moment when I wanted to start Ecoteers. So after that internship, I then went back home for a couple of months, met up with a few website designers, told them about my idea, and then they created Ecoteers for me. And then I got another internship doing my master's in Sipadan, in Mabur, in Borneo as well. So it's like one of the best dive sites in the world. So I basically lived for 2 years in Borneo side of it. And then I moved over to Peninsula Malaysia for my other 13 years, where I started up Fuze Ecoteers with my wife and my co-founder partner, Pavin. So it's been, I'm basically trying to travel around the world and get experience in ecotourism. And I kind of stopped in my first country. And I'm still continuing my around the world trip. 15 years on.
So for those back home that don't know, what exactly do Fuze Ecoteers do?
Okay, so originally we had a website called ecoteers.com, which was like couch surfing. So basically we were linking projects all around the world to people who want to do long-term internships. And we just become the middlemen, and we facilitate people. So they'll just contact the NGOs directly, and we take like a membership fee. But then 2008, I started working for this project, which was in the Perhentian Islands at Bubbles. And that company unfortunately went bust. And then we said, okay, I was the manager of the Turtle project at the time. We said, okay, no problem. We'll continue it on, but not under the original company WOX, but under Ecoteers. That was kind of the first project that Ecoteers actually owned and run at a dive center. So after that, I met up with Pavin in about 2010, 2011 after running this turtle project in Britain. And then we wanted to expand it out and link our two companies together. So he had a company called Fuze, which was more about like team building and expeditions. And we were more about conservation. So we merged two companies together. And like now we do a lot of school groups, school expeditions for conservation. We work with like World Challenge, Outlook, Eco Ventures, as well as doing volunteerism programs and corporate volunteering as well. So our main thing, our main mission is to connect people with nature, because basically, very similar to you, really. Basically, humans are the problem to our conservation issues, right? So if you can actually connect humans to nature in terms of making them love nature more, and wanting to kind of, more passionate about nature, they'll lead a more eco-conscious lifestyle. So that's kind of the ethos behind us, whether it is the local communities we work with, or whether it's the participants of our programs. So we kind of keep that ethos throughout all of it.
Okay. And I know that with part of what you do as well, you work for, you partner with several other organisations that are working in like either wildlife or conservation and that kind of things. How do these partnerships come about, and what kind of work are people doing there?
The partnerships, okay, so we work with an organisation called the Wildlife Rescue Centre in Yogyakarta in Indonesia. So that rescue centre, it's doing a great job. It's like a typical Asian kind of rescue centre where it's underfunded. So our volunteers go there, and then we actually produced about 90% of the income in 2018 was actually generated by our volunteers. And the great thing about them is that they have orangutans, they have sun bears. All these animals have really, really bad interactions with humans. So, for instance, one of the orangutans was actually kept as a pet for a village head who was actually had a car washing company. So he actually got the for the orangutan to clean his cars. Okay, so it was like really, 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 really sad. So he still actually goes around his cage with a coconut and he cleans up the cage. He thinks it there. This image here actually is from Merapo. So this is in Malaysia. And we're actually looking for signs of animals in the forest. So we look for their footprints. So it could be things like sun bear, it could be like wild Malayan gaul that we find. This is one of the projects that we set up originally back in 2013 in the area there. But now we've handed it over. We tried to establish it as an NGO. So now it's an independent NGO called the Malayan Rainforest Station. And they're now going solo, looking into hornbill research and also working with the Batik. Okay, this picture is the rescue center. So here what we do is you see the picture on the left of the students in green. So this is actually a ISKL, a school group that we brought over from Malaysia to go to the rescue center. And they're actually building an enclosure for a sun bear. So the sun bear, Bedu, was actually bought, someone was selling him on eBay. So that the government confiscated, they interrupted the transaction and stopped the sun bear being sold on eBay, and they took the sun bear cub. So they're actually building, one of our school programs is to build enclosures and to help the rescue center, because they'll come and pay good money, and then some of that money will go towards the materials and also get in the local labor as well, because obviously they're kids, they're not skilled at doing things. So they'll be helping the guy in the white trousers and the red and black t-shirt. He was one of the local builders helping. But when the school group finishes, they will still continue to finish off the enclosure. But that was a huge enclosure, massive. So it wasn't just one school group. There's also a couple of volunteers helped to raise money for it as well. It's finished now, and it looks really good, and the bears are happy. There's 2 bears that are in there now. So
I mean,
good.
I'm staggered, and I can see actually one
Yeah,
of our
Stacey,
viewers, Stacey, is saying it's like appalling that these wild animals are being sold online. Is that quite a common thing? I mean, it sounds
very common, very, very, very common. So Facebook, Instagram, everything online. Like you can buy anything online now these days.
yeah.
And particularly in Indonesia and Malaysia, there is Social media is huge over here, actually. I mean, in Indonesia and Malaysia, like some of the top countries for like Instagram and Facebook. So it's very, very common for these wildlife groups to be having Facebook pages, exotic pet pages and stuff like that. But then some of it will be animals they can sell legally. And then if you actually contact them, they can organize to get other
I see.
animals.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
like a front to get people through.
Yeah. But it's just like, I mean, basically, online, it's the same as offline. So if you go to a pet shop and you're looking for, I don't know, like a sun bear or something, right? You can actually go to a pet shop and say, look, you know, is there other things that you can help me to get? So it's a big issue. I mean, Traffic is obviously the main leading organization against wildlife trade, and they're doing a great job. They're in Malaysia. They're getting involved with like the ports. One of our friends' NGO is actually getting sniffer dogs in now, which is fantastic, under RIMBA, which is awesome work. So yeah, I mean, things are starting to actually get serious now in terms of the enforcement, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is appalling.
I mean, she's also asking what can be done to try and stop this. Can it be reported to the social media platforms, or how does that work?
Yeah, so actually, basically, are watching it. People are watching what's happening online. The issue is that it's very easy to make a fake profile online. So you're not gonna, if you're doing this, you're not gonna have your proper name, location, and all that. So there are people who use it for good and use it for bad. So it depends on who's using it. Yeah. But yeah, it's in a way, it's kind of, it allows people to see what's going on and to watch it, and then they can act on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it does give people an opportunity to actually confiscate.
And kind of following on a little bit from that, I mean, I know you guys, you touched on it earlier briefly, but you do a lot of work with the local communities, with the schools and that kind of stuff. What is the general attitude towards wildlife and wild spaces there? And are you seeing any kind of improvement towards living more like harmoniously?
Yeah, so basically when I first come to Malaysia, everyone's like, you know, why are you coming over here? Don't you have coral reefs and all this nature in your own country and stuff like that? Which I said, well, we did. We did have quite a lot of like nature and wild areas. Being British, we have some good areas. I mean, I'm from the southwest, so we do get some good basking sharks and stuff like that, seals. But basically, they didn't realize kind of how lucky they are, because it's on their doorstep every day. They see sea turtles coming and nesting there. It's like rabbits to us in the UK, you know. So it's like every day they come. So it's not special. So like it's kind of like, guys need to realize this is actually special for you. So now it's starting to pick up. Environmental actions are definitely very, very big things in the city now. In rural areas, it's getting better, definitely. And then also in marine conservation in particular, the businesses are starting to come into it as well now, because they're starting to see like the dive centers. They're great. And like the last sort of 3 to 4 years, it's been a pleasure to work with a lot of dive centers, and the resorts are really starting to kind of get onto the bandwagon where we need to do something, and it's good for their business, which is great. I mean, at the end of the day, if it doesn't make them money, they're understanding now they got to conserve the environment. So like in Brahente, we have a lot of sea turtles. So and this is one of the Batik ladies that we work with. They're like a semi-nomadic tribe in Tamanagara. So they are very, very, very connected to the rainforest. The majority of them were born in the forest, and they are the most strongest guardians for nature that we can actually have. That they do hunt some of the animals in the forest, but they take what they need and not over.
Yeah.
You know, they are amazing people, and we should actually see them as our like consultants. we're not there to teach the batik. We're there to actually learn from these people. You know, the amount of knowledge they have is incredible. Like you cannot, yeah. So they're amazing.
And
We're
what
actually doing
about,
bamboo cooking.
they actually do what, sorry?
We're cooking bamboo. So inside
Oh,
of bamboo, there in the photo, we put rice and chicken and different things we put into it, and it was how we cook. So that's like our pots in the forest. But
excellent.
they're amazing people.
And then what about with the younger generation? Are you seeing that they're coming through more kind of wanting to do more for wildlife?
Yeah, I think social media and the internet has really helped. I think it's been able to waken people up and to see what it's like around the world and how good it is here and what's happening. Yeah, everyone now online, you can see that everyone gets the same. You know, like you can watch National Geographic very easily in Malaysia now because of the internet. But before, like it wouldn't have been shown that much. So now it's like all over the place. So it's I've seen with the kids in Perhentian, they're starting to care for their nature. Ones that we take on like turtle camps. Afterwards, quite often they say they don't eat turtle eggs anymore. Because turtle eggs are kind of seen as a delicacy and quite expensive. Like they're seen as quite a expensive, nice thing to eat, even though we think
Yeah.
it's not good. You know, so it's their traditional diet and food. So you can't. It's a very tight line to say, right? You know, yeah. But yeah, the kids are definitely. If it's their choice, we don't say to them you shouldn't do it, but it's their choice to decide not to.
Excellent. Now I know that I've been following what you've been doing for the last couple of weeks, and you've actually been down in the rivers, getting your hands dirty, doing lots of
Yeah.
cleanups and things like that. And I know that this is also part of what you do with a organisation called Precious Plastic. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Okay,
What
yeah,
actually
sure.
is it, and what you can create and how it helps the environment?
Yeah, sure. So I'm basically a marine biologist, beach guy, and then I moved back to the city in Kuala Lumpur, and I got married and have kids and have a house now in the capital city. So it's kind of like I need to get back to the water. You know, I need to be in the water again. And obviously marine kind of issues is quite strong to me. So in Malaysia, well, in Europe, the rivers are kind of seen as the place where it's very expensive. It's kind of a nice place to be. The higher cost housing is on the river. In Malaysia, they're kind of seen as like kind of a storm drain. They're not really seen, especially in the cities. But there's quite a lot of nature you can find in the rivers. So what I used, we started in about August this year, so not that long ago because of COVID. We were kind of okay. We need to do something now in the city because we couldn't move around so much. So we actually went down to the rivers and started to clean them up, remove all the plastics from there. Because obviously the rivers they end up into the sea, right? There's also help in the marine biology side of it. So we went into the river. Every time I put my hand into the river, I'll be picking up plastic bags, sarongs, t-shirts, all sorts of things. Every time I put my hand in, like we'd have only 3, 4 of us at one time doing a cleanup. Within 2 hours, we would pick up like 100 kilos of trash.
Yeah.
And like in Prehenton, we could do these cleanups, and we would get maybe 10 kilo, 20 kilo, like, and have a lot of people with us. So actually, the rubbish issue is bigger, not on the islands, but biggest issue is actually in the urban areas where humans are. So this is me in the river. Um, Everyone's applauding me being in the river. You can't go in the river. It's dirty. Yeah, so I was in the river cleaning up. So that's where you have to be able to get in there and clean it up. And there's monitor lizards there. There is monitor lizard is like the second largest lizard after the Komodo dragon. So we get them in our cities. We see them everywhere in Malaysia. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's another monitor lizard. Um, and also we got otters in there as well, which is awesome, and kingfishers. So things like for me, like having a kingfisher and otters, this is very very rare for you to see in the UK. Like
Yeah.
I'd never see a kingfisher in England. Like here, it's like everywhere. So it's
And
great to see that.
they're obviously they're in that water with all the waste and the plastic and things.
Yeah. They're there, living there. But yeah, what we do with the plastic is some of the plastic we can actually convert it into things using precious plastic. So what we do is we'll take bottle tops, straws. It's called. I'll show you one here. I got like a medicine plastic here. If you look at the bottom, you'll see there's a recycling sign at the bottom on anything. I don't know if you can see that very well. But basically, there's a number in there. So number 2 and number 5 we can recycle. So it's type PP and type HDPE. So what we do, we shred it and then we melt it, and then we have a mold here. So what we do, we'll melt it and then we'll inject the plastic into this hole. Okay, and then if I move this, you can probably see there's like a hole. Okay,
Yep.
so what would happen is the plastic will fill that hole up. Okay, and then it will come out like a star like this. Okay. So you basically put it in there and it'll almost solidify like straight away. So we can make things. So this, like, we got a Santa here. This is our Christmas decorations one. We got a deer. We got things like coasters, wall clocks. So this is all made from river plastic. And also some of them are made from ocean plastic. So we collaborated with Reef Check to basically take their plastic off of them and to make it into, this clock is made from, there we go, exactly, turtles on there. So yes, this clock is made from ocean plastic, from the International Coastal Cleanup in September. Yeah, so it's actually, it sounds very complicated, but it's super easy to do. You basically just melt the plastic, put it into a mold, and then it solidifies straight away. Very, very easy. So we're hoping to actually expand out our projects by it's a social enterprise. We need to sell our products.
Yeah.
And then we can actually do more cleanups. So as we sell more things, we can actually do more cleanups. And we don't really want to be taking people's recycling from their house because that's already in the recycling system. Like our stuff is more from the environment. So everything that we take out. So around about 5 to 10% of the plastic that we use for these things. Okay. Let's say about, rephrase that. So when we do a cleanup, we say we get 100 kilos of waste. Around about 5 to 10 kilos we can use for this machine. So say this weighs 5 kilos of plastic. Actually, we would have cleaned up the river by another 95 kilos.
Yeah.
So of waste. Yeah. So it makes a big difference. So Stacey, still there? Good. Yeah, we sell them online. I don't know where you are in the world, but I assume you're probably in the UK or in America or somewhere. We do sell them online. The only issue at the moment is postage is very expensive. So we do have a website. Later we can probably show you the website URL. But yeah, we sell it online. We do hope to get some partners in the UK and US and all around the world who can sell our items in the country. Be a lot easier. But we're working with a couple of zero waste stores in Malaysia. And zero waste stores are starting to pick up in Malaysia, which is great. In Hong Kong, in Singapore, they're really big. And it's mainly because they're small countries with quite a big population. So waste is like a bigger issue for them sooner. So zero waste actually is a big thing in Hong Kong and in Singapore. But Malaysia is starting to pick up, which is great.
So you were saying that this kind of came about because COVID obviously changed what you were able to do normally. Has there been other impacts that COVID's had on what you're doing? And do you feel like people are now starting to realise the repercussions of messing around with nature? And do you think you might see a bit more people going into ecotourism and going on those trips more?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's been good and bad things from COVID. I say some of the bad stuff first. So a good we can finish with. Some of the bad things, obviously, mainly is financially. 90% of our income comes from school groups, and 10% comes from volunteers that come from around the world. So all of those international ones obviously stopped instantly. Which hit us really badly financially wise. However, the good side of it was that Malaysians love to travel, and they weren't allowed to actually get out of their country because the border was shut, right? So we actually had a domestic tourism boom after the initial kind of wave in July and August, and we had lots of Malaysians joining our volunteering projects, which was fantastic. We really want to have more Malaysians joining us for our volunteer program, so I was really, really happy with that. But then also another thing that we've seen as well, for instance, the sea turtles, we've seen that the nesting numbers this year were actually one of the highest because there's no tourists on the beach.
Yeah.
So we think it could be because of that, but we can't obviously say for sure because sea turtles, they have a cycle where you have a low year and a high year. So actually, we did expect this year to be a low year, but it's been a high year. So it may be because of COVID. It may just be because it was going to be a high year and we miscalculated. But yeah, so that's really good. So for the turtles, the corals, they had a bit of a break. There's less trash being made, produced on the islands. So I think the same thing has happened all around the world as well, like in terms of nature's kind of fighting back. So I think now when we go back to tourism, which it will happen, but we really need to be thinking about our carbon footprint. Like when we fly, we need to make sure that we're kind of carbon offsetting what we're doing. If we're going to be going backpacking, don't fly. Once you get to, say, Southeast Asia, don't fly between countries anymore. Just take the train or the buses, because then you reduce your carbon footprint completely. Because a lot of people used to fly from KL to Kota Baru, which is basically a 7-hour bus journey. It says like 45-minute, an hour flight. So don't do those little flights anymore. Just take the bus, travel a little bit along the way, and the journey should be part of the holiday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're traveling around, you'll find the little nooks and crannies, the little that's the best bits about travel, I think. It's not necessarily being at the destination, it's getting there.
Yeah.
So and then trying to find the different, particularly in Malaysia, it's very easy to travel in Malaysia. Most people can speak English. All the signs are in our alphabet. So it's very easy for us to actually get around. For first individual travelers as well, I really recommend Malaysia. If you're a solo traveler first time, Malaysia is a very, very good place to start traveling. And then once you've been here, then you can go to Thailand, you can go to Vietnam, India, all these other places once you've got your confidence up with being a solo traveler. So Malaysia is great for that. And then you got obviously in Sabah side, Borneo side, you got your orangutans, and in Peninsular Malaysia, we've got like Malayan tiger, we've got sea turtles, we've got a lot of gibbons. We got elephants both sides. So we got an Asian elephant in Peninsular Malaysia, but then also the pygmy elephant over in Sabah. So there's two species of elephant. People don't know that. So there's a subspecies, not right, subspecies. Right? My wife's an elephant expert, so she's probably
You might be interviewing your wife instead, Dan.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, it's an amazing place. So
yeah, I think a lot of people don't realise just how much Malaysia has to offer in terms of the natural world and the wildlife it has there.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, Malaysia and Malaysians as well. Like Malaysia is in the top 10 of being the most biodiverse countries in the world. Actually, in Southeast Asia, we got Indonesia, Philippines, and Malaysia are in that top 10. So if you're interested in nature and conservation, move around those 3 countries and you'll absolutely love it. Like it's really, really good. And in Malaysia and Indonesia, they speak a similar language. It's not exactly the same, a similar language. So if you can actually learn a bit of Malaysian, you can then go to Indonesia and some of it will translate. And they got lots of islands. So Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines is a fantastic area, particularly for marine biologists as well, because you've got the coral triangle, which is the most biodiverse region of the sea in the world. So you've got some amazing places to go, some amazing social enterprises going on as well. That it's just an amazing place. I'm really happy to be here, and it's my adopted home. So nice place.
Okay. Well, I've only got one more question left, and then if there's people are watching back home, then please do type a question into the comments and we'll put it to Dan. And if you're watching this and it's not live, you're watching it after the event, do still put it in the comments and one of us will be able to get back and respond to your question. And also, again, thank you so much for your comments so far. And we look forward to seeing some more of your questions. So Dan, basically, my last one to you was going to say, one of your mantras is to conserve the world. We need to solve the human problems and let the animals look after themselves. So kind of what's your thinking behind that?
Yeah, well, basically, it's simple. The animals were there before us. We've come from nature. We are part of nature. It's us who've kind of gone out of sync with the whole natural world. So if we could actually stop us from impacting these animals' lives, the animals would get on. Like, for instance, tigers, they breed as much as cats do. Your domestic cat. If you leave your domestic cat for like 2 years, you'll come back and be 20 of them. Yeah. Right? If you leave the tigers alone, right, in 10 years' time, there'll be 20 of them as well, you know? So, like, it's just basically leave them alone. Let's, stop illegal wildlife trading. Let's just respect everyone's space. Let's try and, we don't need to eat the eggs anymore. We've got other things that we can eat, like this is turtle eggs. We've got other things that we can eat. There's alternatives now. I mean, I think that's really what it's all about, Like, let's just leave the animals alone. We can appreciate them from afar. We don't need to keep them in our houses anymore. We've got enough domesticated animals that we can. So that's really what it's all about.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dan. I think most of the questions that we've had come through, we've already kind of answered anyway. So I'll start to wrap up. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything that you'd like to end on?
Yeah, well, basically, to you guys, most of you going internationally, wherever you go in the world, you just respect the local people as well as the animals that you're going to visit, because it's very important that you kind of spread your money to the local people and not to big branded hotels and all that. Get out and see the real world. And then when you get out and see the real world, you can make your own decisions on things. Okay, there's some things that people think is contentious, but actually when you get down to see the real impacts, for instance, this may be a big thing, but elephant riding, okay, seeing all the torture of the elements is not great, but then what happens when you do stop it all? What's the impact on mahouts and all this side of it? Now, when you go to a country, try not to be hypercritical of people. Really see what is the problem and understand the problems first, and be with the local people. Try and learn a bit of the local language and really understand what's going on from their perspective. And you will really love it if you get away from the kind of the tourists and people you can meet back home. Get and meet the local people. You'll enjoy yourself a lot more. You'll have a lot more crazy experiences and everything like that, for sure. So, guys, you're listening, just make sure you do that. And then obviously when you go, just respect animals, give them their space, just treat them like they would be another human being, give them their space and enjoy them being wild and natural.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thank you so much. And then if anyone's watching back home and you're working in the conservation industry or you're doing things with ecotourism and you'd like to come and share your story on this platform, then please do get in touch and we'll be happy to kind of talk about that further. But yes, from me, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone for coming in, for tuning in. If you could comment and share and spread the word as far as possible, that would be great. And Dan, I'd ask if you could put your web address on the comments section afterwards so people can see all the stuff that you're doing as well, because obviously you're doing some incredible work and it's good for people to get that message.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So I can do that. This is where we're coming from. So Fuze Ecoteers, yeah, you type that into Facebook or online, you'll get what we do. So yeah, thank you very much to Kathleen for inviting me, and to Mark as well for setting it up. So thank you, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. And yeah,
excellent. Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy your day.